Greetings. This is Rabbi Aaron Boxt once again. I'm so sorry that I missed my podcast last week, but one of the things that we are celebrating in the Boxt family these days is that we moved into our forever home. We have been renting for the last year or so while we've been here in Ocala, and we are finally now in our own home that it's not the first home that we've owned, but it's the first brand new home that we've owned. And so last week we were in the process of packing and packing and unpacking and unpacking, and I just wasn't able to get in last week to do this podcast. But one of the things that we did this weekend was we had our first adult bat mitzvah, at least of my tenure here, and actually it's the first adult bat mitzvah that I've ever done as a rabbi, and it was pretty outstanding. Susan Ahern, who was my student and my congregant and my friend, she did an amazing job helping me to lead the service, chanting the Holy Scriptures, and also delivering a very informative and inspirational Devar Torah, in which she challenged the congregation to do more to help those who are in need, specifically those who have food insecurity or are suffering from food insecurity. And it's amazing to think about 11 years as a rabbi and my first adult bat mitzvah. It was an experience that I'm thrilled to have had, and I look forward to future B'nai Mitzvah students, adults and otherwise. And shortly after the service was over, we joined the congregation for a quick nosh, a celebratory luncheon, and then off to Camp Coleman to take Carly to be 8-week camper slash CIT Machon. This is her first year ever being at camp for the whole summer, but it's also her first year as not just being a camper. She's going to have some responsibilities, and she's going to learn what it takes to be a staff member at Camp Coleman, and it's truly it's amazing that she's 17. She's going to be a senior in high school. We just had her senior pictures taken. Oh my goodness gracious! And looking forward to next month when we drop Danica and Akiva off at camp, and we'll have a few days vacation, just Bacha and me, just to experience being in Atlanta without our kids for the first time in God knows how long. But what I want to talk about also this week is I want to talk about what's going on in our world right now. And I'm not talking about politics. What I'm talking about specifically is there's a lot of negativity in the world. There's a lot of angst and anxiety and frustration, and I believe that the primary reason why all of this is happening is a lack of understanding, a lack of communication, a lack of the attempt to make an effort. We get so bogged down in our daily lives and doing what we think we need to do to take the next step in our life, in our journey, and we forget that not everybody has the same ideas or same feelings that we do. And this is really an important thing to think about, because it is our differences that we have in the world that we often forget to celebrate, forget to think about. If we were all the same, it would be I believe it would be a very boring world, and nobody really wants that. So rather than looking at the differences that we have or that exist between us and other people and fighting about it or arguing about it or looking for a reason to not get along with somebody or to not like somebody, what we should do instead is we should celebrate these differences and learn about each other. After all, the Bible teaches us, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And what I think that means is actually getting out there and sitting down with people that you don't understand or don't agree with or have differences with, and try to see the world through their eyes, or at least make the effort to find out who they are, what makes them tick, what makes them go in life, what interests they have. And I think that summer camp is a great, and I know I'm bringing this back to dropping Carly off at camp, but I think that summer camp is really a great place for people, kids especially, to be who they are without having to stress or worry about not being accepted, because camp really is a place for a community to be formed. And in that community, those differences, those likenesses, those things they have in common and they don't have in common, the contrasts and the comparisons, they're all celebrated. And I think Camp Coleman really does an outstanding job at celebrating these differences. And I wish more people in the world could spend some time at summer camp. And I'm certain, having worked at as many summer camps as I have, that Camp Coleman is not the only place out there where this happens, where people's differences are celebrated and people are welcomed into an inclusive community. It's not just Camp Coleman, but Camp Coleman is the camp where my heart is. That's the camp I went to. It's a camp I worked at for the most amount of years. That's where my daughters and son have been going to camp. It's where I go back every year for a week or two to serve on faculty. It's an unreal. No, it's not unreal. It's a very real experience. It's a very real environment for people to see how differences can be celebrated and what we have in common as well. And I think that moving forward, I hope at least that people will take the moment to just sit back and think about why, not only what the differences are, but why are we different? What makes us different? And how can these differences that we have, how can they help us become a better society? How can we look across the aisle, whether it's politically, religiously, or whatever, and say, I love that person because they are a person, and while I may not agree or understand everything that they say or do, I at least am going to try and make an effort to talk to them, to listen to them, to hear them. Not just listen, to actually hear what they say. And again, I think disagreements are fine. Arguments are fine, as long as they're coming from a place of really trying to understand. And I don't believe in I want to believe in a utopian society. We're not quite there yet. I don't actually believe that every single person in the world is going to wake up one day and just go, oh, I love you because you're different. But man, wouldn't it be great if we could at least make an effort to try and do better, to try and be better. I certainly think it would be better for the future generations. It would make life easier for them. So that's how I'm going to end this week. I want us to work better, work harder, to make the world a better place for the future generations so that we don't continue to leave it as it has been left to us, that we do better and more. I wish you an early Shabbat Shalom. See you next week.